doesn't matter where on the political spectrum an elected representative sits, their number one goal is always the same: protecting their own jobs. Our political class probably doesn't spend too much time dwelling on how unjust and undemocratic it is to pack as many sympathetic voters as possible into one district or another. To them, it's simple job security. But protecting one's job in what's supposed to be a representative democracy robs us of the ability to hold them accountable. The safer they become, the easier it is to ignore the public will. This shouldn't be allowed to happen. If winner take all helps the political class keep their jobs and makes our country more undemocratic, there's no reason to tolerate it. It is unacceptable. In lopsided congressional districts, the only actual competition happens in the primary. A Republican candidate, say, is more worried about being outflanked by a more zealous right-wing candidate than a moderate. That is precisely how former Republican House Majority Leader Eric Cantor got spiked from his seat, one of the most stunning surprise defeats in recent memory. This phenomenon of proving who can be more partisan helps drive the two parties even further away from one another. As a New York Times article notes, this lack of competition has consequences for how Congress operates. Some scholars and analysts say, such as the creation of an ever more polarized House, with incumbents increasingly insulated from challenges from the other party that would push them to the center. Not only do voters frequently stop voting in lopsided districts, but representatives stop even attempting to win votes. The Republicans view cities as Democratic strongholds, and Democrats view rural areas as locked up for Republicans. After the territory is ceded, something terrible starts to happen. The results are seen most easily in state legislatures. Since there's nothing to be gained for a Republican to support funding for schools or jobs programs in urban areas, the opposition's turf, there's no reason to vote for it. Likewise, Democrats realize that they have the cities locked up so they can take their votes for granted. That means they don't really have to fight all that hard for those areas either. So urban areas, tax-rich environments that bring in lots of revenue for the state, ironically become deprived of funding. When Forrest Claypool was CEO of Chicago Public Schools, he noted how although the city had 20% of all the students in Illinois, Chicago only got 15% of state school spending. He pointed out in a speech that the state gave Chicago kids 74 cents for every dollar it spent on a child in the predominantly white remainder of Illinois in 2016. In fact, Claypool said the trend was likely to get even worse. Winner take all means cities, suburbs, and rural areas must all fight each other for a piece of the action. And there are real consequences for both winners and losers. This harsh aspect of winner-take-all creates even more gridlock after the elections. The winner-take-all logic has even spread to legislation. During Barack Obama's first term, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell made a revealing statement. He said, "The single most important thing that we want to achieve is for President Obama to be a one-term president." McConnell recognized that when the Democrats are in power, working with them on their agenda reflected better on the Democrats than it did on Republicans. When laws passed, Democrats got all the credit. McConnell understood that, by the same token, if the Republicans leveraged their power to stop the Democratic Party's agenda, it would be the Democrats who would get all the blame. And so the Republican Party dug in its heels and bogged down everything it could. As predicted, the Democrats took the heat. This strategy has become commonplace now, and the American legislature is basically paralyzed. Since neither party is willing to cross no man's land and pass bipartisan legislation, possibly helping the other side according to winner-take-all logic, the only time an agenda can move forward is when the House, Senate, and presidency are all controlled by one party. Waiting for that to happen once every 10 years or so is not good enough. We have a full-time legislature that can only pass laws when conditions are just right. That is unacceptable. There are ways to change this, and eliminating winner-take-all elections would be a huge step in ending the constant gridlock. This is something that only a third party could advocate for. Changing how we elect our representatives would change our country for the better. Think about it. In the meantime, please like, follow, favorite, and subscribe to my free Substack. Let's make them pay. Banana bird.